We have two turkeys, my favorite subjects for the show. We have a turkey on my right and a turkey on my left. And what I was just told is that turkey season is over this coming Saturday, May 25th, for this early season of hunting. So, just a word of advice. Let's not go hunting after May 25th, but I think we're on our way right now. The agenda and opinions are solely by the topics of the town host, our guests, contributors, and commentators. Our elected leaders would like us to have and to believe that everything we need to know is on the town website. Well, you only find out what they want you to know. I've learned that many, many years ago, but currently, since the epidemic and the issues that have been happening over 2018 till now, we are being isolated to the point where we have to rely on the website. Well, I have a clip here, my favorite clip, of Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein, in his infamous wisdom, said, "I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots." Albert was so right, and that was probably 100 years ago. Therefore, Albert Einstein has been totally correct in his assessment. And what I have is another quote which really, really affects our thinking right now, because we just went through a town meeting, a selectmen review meeting, finance committee meetings. We've had all kinds of things that we were meeting to address the issues of the town. Well, when we participate in these endeavors, I'll call them, and we go through this new quote that I found, and let me just read this. "Unthinking respect for authority is the greatest enemy of truth." We have to question every step of the way of our government, because our government functions for their own purpose and not necessarily for the purpose of the general public and the taxpayers that pay their bills and pay the salaries of our management teams, and somewhat to some amount to the selectmen. They don't get much. I bring this forward because we need strong leadership in our community. Where have all the leaders gone? Where are the heroes in our society? We have had a tremendous upheaval of our leadership team, which I consider the Board of Selectmen, or Select Board, now that they call themselves, is a reflection of what the residents, taxpayers, and interested individuals think of our management team. Our management team has changed this time. Two of the incumbent selectmen have been replaced with two new individuals with fresh and ideas that may help us to get out of this doldrum that we're dealing with in our town. The past and current town government is deaf to the issues that count. We are overtaxed and abused as taxpayers and ratepayers in the delivery of utility and basic services. We need relief. And as you will see later on in the presentation, our town meeting heard some of the concerns, but they also were deaf to others. Now, one of the things that has happened recently, and as you can see on Tuesday of this week, we've had a selectman meeting or select board meeting to elect a new chair. The old chair, and excuse the expression, David, you're old enough, you're mature. However, that seat has now changed back to the senior member of the Board of Selectmen that has been previously a chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Dan Bennett. Danvers Select Board, Daniel Bennett, chair, lashes out at nasty, rotten comments. And this was a article that was in Patch, and I was not able to hear all of the comments that Dan really made except for what was printed. However, I like to remind Dan that you are there because of the residents that have elected you, and you are chairman because the rest of the board finally acclimated to your position. However, there's a pecking order that happens at the Board of Selectmen and the chairmanship. And as we all know, in the past, there's been a custom where the new selectmen get an opportunity to lead the Board of Selectmen. Maureen was and is a candidate for that post, and what we have devised in this election is a change that we needed to the board. Dan, you and I have served in the past, and you are currently now on the Board of Selectmen and as chair. Congratulations. I appreciate your time and your abilities to lead. However, we do deserve an opportunity for our junior selectmen to exercise their authority, because they are coming up, or they have been re-elected now for the second term, and they deserve the opportunity. We cannot hoard the chairmanship because we are, and I'm going to go back to your comments in regard to the abilities or the comments that you have been hearing from the general public in regards to the management team that we have in our town. I feel compelled to address my fellow citizens while I have your attention, he said. Too many times when I'm out in public, I'm hearing nasty, rotten, personal comments about our town manager. It is totally garbage. And those who have made these comments should have their mouths washed out with soap. How childish can we get, Dan? Dan, you are in a position where you can improve our town manager to reflect the values of our town through the actions of the Board of Selectmen. And now you have the opportunity. But don't start complaining that people don't like what is going on in town. They've already told you 2 of the incumbents have been replaced. Maybe the next 2 are coming up to replace your position and David's position. Comments and accusations of mismanagement will persist until we have a transparency of the town management actions without sweeping issues under the rug. That has been a consistent situation in our community where nothing ever goes wrong because it is disposed of before it gets to be public knowledge. We cannot be sweeping issues under the rug as we are used to in the past. So, Dan, congratulations on being chairman. I really admire that. That was a very good option for you. You are the senior one, but you need to give the junior selectmen and select women an opportunity to participate and identify their issues because they have been elected to their positions as well. So, news briefs. Currently affecting our residents, results from the town meeting. Now the annual town meeting on May 20th, 2024. As you know, I went and filmed the entire town meeting to have a record of clips for myself because the show cannot access the town filmed versions of our the town meeting. So I go with the camera, put it up there, and watch it, see what's going on. Well, the standard procedure for town meeting was very well followed. Pat Frazier had everything under control. However, the town meeting members, there were 130 out of the 149 town meeting members present, and the roll was called. All the names are very well known. The budget itself, which currently is $144 million for the fiscal year 2025. And it's been increased from 130 something. I don't have the numbers here in front of me. But the current budget is $144 million. That budget, by line item, was passed in 7 minutes. Record time. Town meeting didn't have a question in regard to the budget. So I don't know where we have too much money. We have too many town meeting members that don't pay attention. Or have we done such a great job selling the $144 million budget? This is something that needs to be addressed. Finance Committee is not the full representation of town meeting. I was not selected to be a town meeting member in Precinct 7 as a write-in, which is okay. I still have every opportunity as a resident and taxpayer in this town to present my issues and our issues because I participate with residents in Precinct 7. The citizens petition process is very, very deliberate and very good for our community because that's the last source of issues that can be raised at town meeting, and all it takes is 10 or 15 signatures from residents to bring the issue to town meeting. Now, this year, I have made presentation on 4, really on 5, town warrants, which are called after the citizens' petitions are converted into the warrant articles. Citizens' petitions are very deliberate, and they need to be addressed by town meeting, whether yes, no, or maybe forwarded to committee and don't ever see it again. Town meeting understands the process. However, during the reviews with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, I was flabbergasted by the comments that I received that maybe we should change the citizens petition process because some of my ideas, or our ideas from Precinct 7, are not practical, or they shouldn't be brought up to town meeting. Then where else are you going to bring those issues up? The selectmen don't listen. The Finance Committee didn't listen. Finance Committee was offended by having those issues in front of them. But the other 43, or 43 minus 4, warrant articles were very well defined and debated by the Finance Committee, and where some of them didn't have anything to do with the finances of this town. So we have an opportunity, warrant article number 7, which is slated to review and update and revise the town charter or the Town Manager Act, as they are both exactly the same. That is the constitution that this town runs on, in addition to state laws and regulations. Now, state laws and regulations have to be adopted by town meeting and the Board of Selectmen, and some of them have not. And what I'm speaking of, and I'll just mention it now, is that the fee concept that was imposed on our residents, the trash fee or trash tax, is a legislative idea to superimpose or override the 2.5 regulations, 2.5% increase regulations. And that was given to the authority of, in our town, to the Board of Selectmen, and to the cities is given to the mayors. So, but even in the cities, the mayors go to the council and have it approved because they don't want to stick it to the residents on their own. They want some collusion. In our town, and forgive me for bringing this back up again because the selectmen are tired of hearing about it, it was devised and identified by our town manager as a fait accompli that he can impose this tax, or fee he calls it, on our trash because the legislature allows it, and it's law. Everybody says it's law. Well, that's not true. It is a legislative action, and I don't know whether it's ever been accepted by the town of Danvers. I don't know if anybody ever even looked at it. But if we are in need of taxes, then what we need to do is we need to identify that to our selectmen and go through the process, legislative process in our town, which is town meeting, and approve it, or a referendum. In many cases, a referendum happens, and if there is a desperate need for tax money, then they should be consulted and voted on by the legislature. It's a tax, whether you like it or not. Now, there was an article by Patch on May 21st in regards to the trash bins. Yeah, the trash bins. The trash bins were a separate and independent issue. It had nothing to do with the imposition of the trash tax. That was a contractual agreement that the town of Danvers, here they are, all stacked up on the back of a truck. They were devised as a method of limiting the amount of trash that we as residents can put out, and wait till they make the rule that no more than those 2 barrels can be put out, because they don't want to pick that up, or it's going to cost us more to pick up anything else. This fee business is not over. This is just the beginning. We have been discussing a single barrel per residence for trash and a single barrel for recycled, and they have provided those. But that's part of the contractual agreement, and they wanted to impose that trash fee because that offset some of the costs of the new contract. And yes, the new contract is higher, but we as a town need to manage our resources, which are tax revenues that we pay every quarter of this year, of every year, and we pay it on time, and it's 96-97% compliance every single quarter, and the taxes are going up. So what we need to do is, I'm not going to go into much more detail on this, but town meeting members supported adding Danvers to the list of North Shore communities, including Salem and Swampscott, banning carry-out styrofoam containers for food establishments. If there's a warrant article that limits our abilities to function as a community, the town meeting members supported pushing the Beverly Airport Commission. Oh, I'm sorry. The article passed with an added exemption for retail meat and deli operations. What are we getting into? This is a regulation that's by the state that should be applied across the board, not just individual communities. Individual communities can increase or decrease a regulation, but this is a beginning of the next step of regulations. Town meeting members also supported pushing the Beverly Airport Commission to authorize an environmental study on the impact of the airport on Danvers and surrounding communities, as well as recommendation that the town manager explore drawing additional tax revenues from the airport. The one thing that the reporter forgot to mention is that the warrant article requested that the town manager negotiate a pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes. We all know that the Beverly Airport is non-taxable. However, the operations at the facility are taxable. So we need to negotiate, and there has to be a common thread between the towns, because 170 acres of the airport is part of Danvers, not the entire airport. Um, the annual town meeting concluded in one night. Boy, we do this so efficiently, is that we don't have any discussion about warrant articles, and there were 43 articles that were to be discussed or presented, and they were all approved. And it was all done in one night, just under 3 hours, with most of the financial articles receiving little or no discussion before overwhelmingly votes of approval. The common issue that has been discussed in many, many years is how many of our elected town meeting members have even looked at the warrant articles, the budget, or have attended finance committee meetings or selectmen meetings. The selectman has the first shot at the budget and the warrant articles. They don't make any changes. They rely on the town manager that this is the way it is. Well, we need to start looking at things. And one of the issues that has been presented in regards to our trash fee is we have a poster, if we can throw that up, there we go, that we can defund our town management to fund trash tax costs and save taxes. I have a FOIA request that I present to the town finance director every year, and I'm looking at the costs of our town management. And all I ask for is, please give me the salaries and benefits and everything else that we pay to our employees, because that's who they are, and they are paid through the tax-supported functions of our town. So what I have today, and just to give you an example of what's going on, is FY 2022 management team consisted of 25 managers / or directors. I don't know, there are no managers anymore. There's some, but most positions have the title of director. I don't know what that really means, but it's a manager to me. So we have 25, in 2022, we have 25 managers of directors. And just the salaries themselves are worth $3 million. $3,004,573.14. Does not include benefits, retirement, health and welfare insurance, and other benefits that they obtain. The cost of an employee in our town is 150% plus. So what we're talking about is $3 million for salaries and another $1.5 million for benefits. You're talking $4.5 million in 2022. Well, I asked for the same information, and I asked for the same information regarding the management team. Well, the management team increased by one. It's up to 26 managers and directors, and the salaries, and only the salaries, in 2024 are $4 million, a 25% increase in just the salaries. And, those are the numbers. That's all I'm doing. Now, if we add the benefits to that, that'll be another $2 million. You're talking $6 million that we are spending on our management team. Now, examples of our management team, let me just give you a couple. In 2022, town manager was making $225,000. Police chief was making $164,500. Director of Public Works and Utilities, $170,000. That was in 22. Now, if we go to 24, you're talking the town manager is up to $248,000 just for the salaries and stipends. Now, the other benefits come later. The Director of Public Works, $182,000. And the police chief, let's say, is $176,000. So we have a major expense just in our ability to manage the $144 million budget. Well, I think a $144 million budget can be managed by a heck of a lot less, and it has in the past been managed well and to a function that the residents liked. Now, Mr. Bennett is absolutely right. People are upset with the management team that we have, and all they are for is making money and getting paid. That's all I'm going to say about that, but the issues in regard to taxation, we must ask why there is a need for a tax increase. Is it to support the already bloated town budget or the town management team? Has the town grown so much? Or does the town manager sense an opportunity to get more tax revenue? The residents are not asleep, so get ready for a fight. And this is what's happening over the last 9 months, basically, since the budget conference committee's hearings were made in end of last year. That was set up. We are asked to have a tax increase because the town needs flexibility in the budget. We have not identified any concrete budget proposals that need funding. We must first determine what is required and then find out what is possible. We have to be able to manage our resources. We should live within the budget and conserve the services we need. The future community wants need to be planned and funded with sustainable source of funds. If we need to raise taxes, then ask for a tax increase. Don't hide the inevitable. Taxation without representation is no longer possible or allowable. The legislative body will then let you know what is permissible according to the vote of the town meeting or a referendum by residents. Political actions such as taxation are best left to elected leaders and our legislative branch. This fee or tax increase was not done by the elected officials. It was done by an appointed official and appointed groups of officials. All right. Now that we have come to a conclusion of the town meeting actions, I just want to go quickly over the four town meeting items that I presented, and I will be very brief because these have been watered down to a point where all of them should have been approved, but they were not. We have Article 41, which is the recommendation of citizens' petition to request an environmental impact report for Beverly Airport impact on Danvers. The amended recommendation was to see if the town will vote to request the airport commissioners to embark onto an environmental report to protect our residents from impacts at the Beverly Airport. 170 acres of the Beverly Airport, which is going to be there, I mean, it's not going anywhere, is going to need an environmental impact statement or a report that includes not just noise, not just leaded jet fuel, not just aerial impact on our community where the planes buzz certain areas, not just the size of the hangars that they want to build adjacent to our community housing in the area of Old Burley and Burley Street. The Conservation Commission finally, in their wisdom, has denied the permit for building a hangar that was going to be built over the area next to Old Burley Street. It was going to be 135 feet wide, 300 feet long, and 45 feet high. That's a football field, football stadium. We can put that into somebody's backyard and let's flood the place out. So that was one of the recommendations of town meeting, and that was approved. So I appreciate the town meeting's vote because they have understood what the situation was. Article 39 was to see if the town will vote to explore the use of a handheld electronic vote tabulation system for the town meeting. Town meeting has been struggling, even at this town meeting, for a standing vote or a vote where they would identify the individual from each precinct of how they would vote on certain subjects, and it was voted down. The town meeting members came, two of them, came out and said, we don't need it. Well, wait till the next conflict happens, like it did at the special town meeting this last February, and we experienced that on a regular basis. So that was one that was voted down. Town meeting did not want to have anything to do with it. So we will explore that during our warrant article number 7, which is the update, revision, and review of the town charter, and we'll probably identify that as one of the items that should be included in that review committee. The third item is to see if the town will vote to recommend to encourage the town manager to improve and expand the pilot program to maximize tax receipts to the town of Danvers for the devoted land at the BVY airport. This issue has been convoluted in many different ways. All this is let's negotiate with the city of Beverly and the airport commission of a pilot program, which is payment in lieu of taxes. We all understand now that the taxes cannot be collected on federal property, which is fine. But let's make a concession to the town of Danvers for the impact that the airport has on our community and our well-being. This one was passed, and we'll see what the town manager and the Board of Selectmen do with it. The other article, and I seem to have misplaced it. This is my famous one. This is the last one. To see if the town will vote to petition the selectmen to reverse the actions taken to authorize the so-called trash fee and explore the use of alternative management plan for real estate taxes, free cash, or grants to fund trash collection. This year, we are flush with money. $12.2 million has been identified as free cash. What's free mean? It's taxes that have been left over from the previous year's budget. And it's the savings that the directors, town manager, Board of Selectmen have identified as not spending it. They have not spent all of the money, which is great. However, we are supposed to have a balanced budget. So what we do is we stack the deck on how much tax revenue the town can collect because of the avenue of collection due to 2.5. We cannot go over that limit. The tax levy capacity is up to max, which we do not need because $12.2 million was left over from last year's budget that's been identified as free cash, which is savings, which is great. But we cannot rely on the budget process because the budget process maximizes the amount of tax revenue that they take out of our pockets. The tax revenue is fine for the town management, but it also imposes higher taxes, higher fees, and higher collection of taxes to our residents. Our residents are made up of a third young families, which are struggling, and taxes are part of being, in a position to struggle. The seniors make up another third, or probably more now, but they are also on fixed income, and their taxes go up every year. The middle, I don't think they care, which is okay if that's how you feel. But look out for the low and the high end of the collections, and everybody in the middle needs to consider the effect of the whole community. So we'll see when time comes for setting the tax rate in December or November. And just to repeat a statement that has been used by many of the statesmen in our selectman's office, is that when you eat a steak dinner, you have to pay for it sometimes in November. We have spent $144 million 90-some million of that is real estate tax revenue, and they do not compensate for each other. Citizens' petitions were completed, and what I'd like to do is move on, and what we have is another 15 minutes, so I'm just going to go through a very quick review of the last two shows. We have been sort of transitioning from the elections and debates in the town of Danvers to our legislative body in the state of Massachusetts, because we have contested races coming up for state rep, which is Sally Kearns. I don't think she has a contested race, but we'll see. And Joan Lovely has a contested race, and we have had a presentation made by Damien Anketel, who is the candidate for the state Senate seat. Candidate for Mass State Senate transition from Danvers local elections to the state elections. The consequences of state versus local legislation, how to remain independent. And we just talked about the trash tax that was legitimized by the legislature by passing a law. We don't even know if we accepted that law. And we should have the right to do that. Trash tax, intended consequences of state interference to override 2.5 law. We had many discussions. What does Mr. Anketel stand for? And what we'll do is we'll have him as a guest, and possibly if I can get Joan Lovely to come on the show, that will be a good discussion between the two. How will state legislation affect our identity? We are already being hampered by the MBTA law. We are now hampered by the trash tax law that was passed. When are we ever going to be independent? Our education system is totally dependent on the direction and regulations from the Board of Education for the state of Massachusetts. Our school committee, 2 recent candidates or recent members of the school committee have basically decided not to run for the second term because they saw that they could not really impact our school system. We need some strong school department leaders, because that's where the authority is. It's in the superintendent and the principals. So we'll continue that effort. Now what we have is topic number 3, which is the Beverly Airport contingent. Danvers residents' message to Beverly Airport Commission. Well, Beverly Airport has embarked, or their operations management team has embarked in building and relocating facilities on the west side of the airport, which is located in the Danvers 170 acres that are adjacent to Old Burley and into Wenham. They have, like I said earlier, proposal has been to build a 135 feet wide, 300 feet long, and 45 feet high facility for storing corporate jets. Now just look at the size. It's a football field. And they're talking about storing 2 jets in there? Those are not little jets anymore. We're talking about major jets that have been flying over our community for the last 4 or 5 years, I believe. And they have been reported as making noise and affecting the quality of life of residents. 135 feet wide, that's the wingspan of the jet. Where is this going to stop? We are not a jet port, as our previous airport manager has devised for the Mayor Cahill and his operation with the airport. Who is collecting the fees? Who is charging the tax on the fuel? Who is relocating hangars onto the Danvers side and not onto the Beverly side? Beverly has plenty of land on that side across the runway. They have been suggested to them, and they're continuing to pursue this effort. Now, on May 14th, there was supposed to be a site review meeting, which is by the Planning Board and not the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission said no go. They voted 3-0 not to permit them to locate that hangar on the west side of the airport because it's so close to conservation land. On May 14th, there was supposed to be a meeting. The meeting was deferred to June 11th, which will be the next time we'll be able to talk to our planning board, and our planning board will consider the restrictions that may have to be imposed on this, but I don't know what they're going to do without the Conservation Commission meeting. So that's an issue that's imminent. Like I said, the environmental impact study is a consideration. Many other issues have been brought to the Commission without resolution, such as an environmental impact study, leaded fuel, air emissions, noise emissions, groundwater contamination, and the size of the jets and their own noise that have increased dramatically. Joe Rinaldi has been very involved in identification and tracking these issues. Other airports have succumbed to public pressure, and BVY must shrink. Why are the fuel and landing fees so low? Because they want to attract more business, which is understandable, but you have to consider peaceful coexistence between Beverly residents, Danvers residents, and Wenham residents. This is not just the airport. It is a peaceful coexistence that has to continue. The runways need to remain the length that they are now, and we cannot have the runways extended 300 feet in each direction. That will impose heavier, bigger, and now there's my public calling. Sorry about that. But we need to have the Commission understand that. My last appearance in front of the Commission, I reminded them that Danvers residents and Beverly residents and Wenham residents make public comment at their meeting. And the public comment is relevant to each and every one of those people that are making that comment. The Commission needs to address and reply to each and every one of those comments, because I have found that I have looked at minutes of meetings in the past, and the comments are made and recorded, but nothing comes back to the individuals that are making these comments. So it's just like throwing them into the round trash bag. So that's one thing. One thing I like to just address very quickly is Memorial Day is coming on Monday. So if we can throw up the flag, there you go. There was a very interesting article that was presented to through Patch in regards to the laying of flags on the grounds of the cemetery for the veterans especially. And there's a change in the location of the parade. It is going to be starting and finishing at the Holton Richmond Middle School. So that's something that we need to do, and I think it's at 9 o'clock. I don't know what the parade route is going to be. The last item I would like to do is, if you can throw up my famous and infamous, I miss the good old days. Remember when you could actually have an opinion without offending somebody. At this moment, what I like to do is, if I've offended you, please let me know, because I don't mean to offend anyone, but I speak the truth. And this is the truth that I see going on in our community. The future programs, and my final comments are going to be my closing comments. Let's lead instead of adopting the policies that do not serve the residents. They only increase our costs. And one of my major items that I want to bring up is we need to eliminate the DEI department and process, because it is totally irrelevant in our community. We need to live together as equals anytime, but we cannot go reverse discrimination. So, charter review debate coming up. Warrant articles need to be advanced for the charter review. So what we'll have to do is we have to consistently attend those meetings and participate. We need to find out who's going to be on the committee. And our escape the woke attitude. Our motto here and Topics of the Town News is, our motto is never give up. Persistence is what makes things work. So, next show I'll have in June, and there's 2 shows in June, and then we'll take a summer break for July and August, and we'll be back in September. So, look forward to a June show. I think it's the 6th or 7th, and we will continue our discussion, and I hope I get your participation, and thank you for watching, and good night. Good night, Danvers. We'll see you next.